Let's start with some good news. We have been hearing too much bad news already. So let's start with something uplifting from the findings of the survey that your company has conducted.
Okay, I think if you're asking about the good news, I think the good news is when there's a COVID and people actually lock down. From the survey, they're saying that actually majority of the company don't look at the solution of firing people or lay off people. What they're trying to do is they try to see how they can actually make people safe in terms of safe from the virus and also safe from losing job as well. Yeah.
So you mean the majority of the companies
The
that you
majority,
survey?
yeah, the majority.
So they try to
yes.
keep the workforce
Yes.
and try to
So
adapt to the changing circumstances.
Yes. So the first thing that they're trying to do is they freeze headcount. So they don't hiring more people, but they try to keep the people that they have with them. The second option that they actually looking to do is they actually ask the current staff to do some voluntary leave to really actually somehow reduce a little bit of their costs and make sure that all the people can stay within the business.
So that's the good news. So what about the bad news?
The bad news, maybe we all have a lot of bad news already, but some company still somehow need to reduce some of the workforce. That
including those in Thailand.
Including
course, right?
those in Thailand, because we done the survey in Southeast Asia, so including Thailand. Yeah.
All right, so they are being forced by the circumstances to downsize their workforce.
Yes.
But of course, it doesn't mean that they completely get rid of the people they have. But
No. They I think majority of the company they have empathy for sure. They're trying to keep as many people as they can, or they try to upskill them. They try to make sure that they keep everybody. But then with the current circumstance, with the business that not actually going as it used to, some company may need to actually take the action, but it's not going to be the first action for sure.
How important is it to upskill the current workforce, especially during COVID-19 and now after the lockdown and post-pandemic as well?
I would say it's very important because the world is changed. Because now people need to really using technology in the way that they never used before, because some of them might not be able to actually using video conference or comfortable with actually doing communication via telephone or via video. But now everybody needs to be able to do that in order to make it happen and make sure that the work is more efficiency compared to before.
Now we understand that most or many of the companies that you have talked to have adopted this so-called working from home approach to deal with the situation. They have sort of downsized their staff and then make parts of their staff to work from home. And so how are these things, how do they work? I mean, do they produce a result that they desire to see?
I think 50% of people who answer the survey saying that the productivity is actually the same. It's not reducing productivity. So working from home somehow gives people more chance, more time. They reduce the traveling hours. Actually giving people ability to work whenever they need it. Some of them even working long hour than before. Like myself, because my company also adapting fully 100% working from home. So somehow I start working from early than normal and finish later than normal.
I see.
Yeah.
So feeling at home working for your office.
But what are the challenges of working from home then? Because some of the companies could not really adapt to remote working, and it seems like it's more applicable to those working only in tech companies or startup companies.
Not really actually, but the company need to really somehow have that technology. First, they need to have the hardware. Second, they need to have the software. So they need to somehow prepare for this, because some company have actually policy to work from home, maybe one day a week already a year or 2 years before COVID happened. So if the company is ready or prepared before this happened, they can actually adopt it quite smoothly. For example, at RoboWater, because we actually having all the surface, all the technology ready. When the COVID start to spread, we actually take action very fast to make sure that people start working from home 100%.
I see.
And we start to see that many companies have adapted new technologies more than before. For example, with video conferencing, recruiting through video messaging apps, and all these new programs and all these things. From now on, how would these technologies be more prevalent in the future?
I think it's going to be very like so now people get used to those things already, so it's going to be something that will continue in the future for sure.
Would you say COVID-19 has boosted the companies to use more technology? Would you say that?
Yeah, I think like triple the speed. I think like with my experience, the first few months, the clients still reluctant to actually into candidate to video. They still want to meet people face to face. But then after a while, they think, okay, because they have a need to make sure that they have people right on time. So they decided to actually take a video into and make the decision over the video.
I see. So it looks like for many companies, according to your survey, have found out that working from home is the right approach in dealing with the specific circumstances. But long term, do you think many or most of the companies will continue to use that kind of work approach?
I think in the past, many companies want to somehow trying for their employee to working from home, but because there's no circumstance for them to actually make it happen, I think because they're afraid that okay, productivity or efficiency will not be the same, right? But after like they was forced to try during COVID, and seemed like the activity is still the same. So a lot of clients that I've been talking to, and all of them, majority will be multinational company. They're actually thinking of implement the working from home, but might not be 100% because we still need to do meeting, still need to actually like doing brainstorm, but they might actually start to adopt one day per month or something like that. Yeah, that actually like every single company looking to somehow go to that trend.
So in sum, the practice of working from home has proven to be more positive than negative, right?
Yes.
For most companies that you have
For most company, but it also depends on the personality of the person. Because in my organization, some of them saying that they love working from home. Some of them saying that they want to come to the office because they want to somehow socialize with their friend or colleague. Yeah. So somehow I think the company will need to have an option for people to choose whether they want to work from home or they want to actually working in the office.
In your survey, you focused on the technologies, remote working, and what will be the changes after the COVID-19. But there's one interesting point though. What would be the most important skills for the employees or even leaders to adapt?
I think after we've been facing this, I think flexibility is the first thing that I would say every single company looking to hiring people, and quickly adapt to change is another thing, because I think we don't know what's going to happen in the near future. Things can change quite easily and fast as well. So people need to be agile and also need to be like open-minded to change anytime.
So what would you say is the most important takeaway or most valuable findings that you learned from your surveys?
I think somehow we need to take action fast, because during those like COVID thing actually changing almost every day. So somehow as a leader, you need to really like look at the situation and need to realize that you need to make the decision or adapt with the situation fast enough to make sure that your business is still running, your people are still safe.
I see.
And other parts of your survey, you also looked at the leadership. Organizations also recognize that the new skills among leaders are also about having empathy, better understanding of technology and all these things. Is there anything else you found out through the survey on the new skills that the leaders of such organizations should adapt?
I think another thing that we found is that communication is a key, because during the time that we not be able to see each other, or even when we adopt the working from home approach in the future, leader need to be able to communicate via like video conferencing, make sure that you like employees like can hear you often enough, something like that, to make sure that the engagement is still there.
So it's not only for personnel to learn how to work from home, but for managers and those in management position to learn how to manage from the office, right?
Yes, from home.
From home and
but
from the
how,
office.
Yeah, and from the office, and how you can engage people over the video,
I see.
because it's more like it's something that never happened in the past.
I see. No, but as far as companies in Thailand are concerned, is there any big difference in the way they approach the issue, the way they adopted the working from home solution, different from those of their counterparts in other countries in the region?
I think from what we done some research and also talked to a lot of like clients who working in Thailand and also in other countries, actually the method is the same. They actually like somehow using like learning from country that got COVID first. Like for example in global water as well, like we learn from China because we have office there. We learn what is the approach that they're doing, how they start working from home, what is the process to make sure it's still workable. So we learn from who actually got the experience first, and we actually pass our experience back to like the country that somehow get the COVID lately, later than Thailand.
Any sort of differences that you've seen because you've focused on companies in Southeast Asia? Are there any findings that are slightly different? Like for Thailand might say one thing, or Indonesia might say another with the way they work from home or adapt new skills?
Yeah, I would say like people somehow actually quite comfortable working in the office before. So I mean, the first few months, I think like everybody feel uncomfortable working from home. They don't know how to adjust themselves. The findings actually pretty much the same.
All right. Okay.
Do you see any sort of a new style of leadership at the management level that emerged from this pandemic crisis? The way that they handle the personnel, the way they handle the day-to-day operation under these circumstances. A new style of leadership that we may not have seen before under normal circumstances.
I would say not really, but I think like the one that's shining or actually make the company survive during this time, they need to really look at the situation and adapt very fast. They need to, they cannot actually like rely on what worked in the past. They need to really like ready to change. Yeah.
But in Asian culture, leaders in many companies are always at the top, and people often see them as unapproachable to many of the employees. And if we want these leaders or bosses to improve their communication, just like in your survey, what would be the best way to do it in your perspective?
I think it's even more difficult to approach them this day because of the social distancing.
Wow.
No, just joking.
I think what I saw from like the company that we're working with, I think the CEO actually like hosting the conference every week to make sure that like maybe like a coffee session, we call it coffee or tea session, but then you prepare your own tea and snack, but we're grouping together, and the CEO will actually like somehow communicate to the employee whether what is the situation of the company right now, and try to encourage the employee and try to actually like create motivation of the employee during that period.
Now you are in the recruitment business, right? So how does the whole thing affect your operation, and how that this will shape the way that you run this recruitment business in the future?
Of course, I think like we actually have a high impact from this situation because we're working with a lot of corporation where because they got impacted by the COVID also. Like I mentioned, because the first thing that they do is they start freezing hiring. So, but still, if they have a critical position, they still need a person, a quality or a talented person to run during this crisis. what we see or what we think that is going to be a future of recruit, we actually during this time we introduced to the client the Spark High. So it's a video interview. So instead of in the past, you need to submit the resume or you need to actually interview the candidate face to face. Yeah, we ask our candidate to record the video, maybe like 2 or 3 minutes instead of actually paper. So the line manager or the client can see the personality, can see the attitude, can also understand the like snapshot of the candidate within only like 2 or 3 minutes. And it's worked very, very well in robo-auto in other countries. For example, in New Zealand, in Australia. Yeah.
But do you think that job applicants or people that you are going to hire or into interview, do they act differently or speak differently? I mean, between interviews, in-person interviews or through video clips?
I think in the first few times that they record their video, they'll feel uncomfortable or like not really like get used to. But I think after a while, if this is a trend in the future, people will try to adapt themselves and eventually it's going to be more like a trend for sure.
Will the recruitment guidelines change at all, whether the applicants expect, for example, like if they're looking for this skill, there might be more skills coming up as well? Is there a possibility that it will change?
I would say like the skill that needed will be similar, but then the mindset of the candidate that organization they will want somebody who be open-minded and really prepare for change. Because some people, they've been working in the same way for 10 years and they're looking to work like that. It's not going to be easy in this period of time to be able to do that.
No, your findings from the surveys certainly are useful not only for business leaders or managers, but should also be useful for members of the future workforce as well, and people looking for a job after the COVID-19 is over. So what would be your suggestion to these future job seekers?
I think you need to adapt yourself and try to learn new things every day, because nowadays there's a lot of like, the good thing about this is we have a lot of seminar, webinar or online courses that we can actually attend for free. So you need to be able to adapt yourself with technology, because right now you cannot say that you cannot do it. You need to be able to do it to survive during this period.
What about your advice to leaders or CEOs or even immediate supervisors when accepting new people into the team?
I think they need to looking for not only the technical skill. I think they need to really finding people who want to go with the company for future as well. They need to have the ability to adapt or change or learn. The agility to learn new things need to be the key thing for now, like for all the employee right now.
Are any of the companies that you talk to in the media business?
In the media business,
I'm just curious to find out how they adapt.
I think we working with a lot of like industry. I think media, maybe like more like a PR agency or something like that. They're also working from home. They're also working from home 100%. So all the back office, for example, is like easily can actually adapt to working from home. The front still need to come to the office to actually doing some activities.
And how would business in the recruitment consultancy like yourself will adapt?
Right? Yeah. I think like the first thing that we adapt is we need to make sure that we understand our client and also actually advise like what type of skill or what type of the soft skill that they should looking for. And we also come up with, like I mentioned, the Spark High is something that like in Thailand, we are the first who introduce this to client. And a lot of clients like surprised and also happy to hear, because it's something that they never heard before and it can also save time.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit about what you just said?
The video interview, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the past, when people want to apply for the job, they're sending the resume. What we offer is we actually have another application called Spark High that we ask the candidate to record the video of to introduce themselves. We might actually ask them to answer a short, like 2 or 4 questions, so that the client can have a look at their profile and in the same time video, so that they can actually like reduce the process of the interview.
And you don't have a face-to-face talk to these people anymore, right?
The first time will be that video, and if the clients think that okay, this one is suitable in terms of the culture, in terms of the character, they will actually invite the candidate through like video conference or either like face to face, because now we can meet each other already, so face to face can happen. But in case if something happened in the future,
it's very interesting because this is exactly where the new skills will be needed.
Yeah, the presentation skills.
The lighting.
So instead of like TikTok or
camera angles and how to act in front of a camera.
and how you can actually answer professionally.
Okay.
And normally we normally ask candidates to record it in English. Yeah.
So English will be something important as well, not just a new language, but it's a standard language that everyone needs to know at the moment. Any other findings that you found out in this survey that you would like to share with us?
I think one thing though, like because when we asking people, what do you think is actually affect your work to increase productivity or make it worse? So the thing that people answer is the same. So some of the people saying that like they like working from home because they have more focus, and another 50% saying that they don't like working from home because they cannot focus. So it's actually depend on the person whether they're independent enough and they have responsibility enough to make sure that they manage their own time.
It also depends on what kind of homes you have too.
Yes.
Exactly. If you have a family, that would be a big challenge. Like you have to like take care of your kids and work at the same time. Anything that shows that as well? Does it show any of the challenges that?
There's a lot of challenges because in RoboWater we also actually like come up with a group of like a mommy who need to work from home and also have kids running, and we share like those like tips and tricks, and we want to make sure that okay, you don't need to be concerned too much if your kids like show up like, during your meeting or whatever, because people understand.
And what about yourself? Were you happy working from home too?
I think I like it, but in the same time because I'm a social person, so I also want to meeting my team and also meeting people as well. So I think like half should be good, but not 100%.
So from now on, what is your prospect of these companies who will still adapt working from home practices, allowing the flexibility for employees to work outside of the office and not having to see face to face in the office anymore?
I think many companies right now actually like still having the working from home policy running until December. There's a lot of companies that still not fully come back to the office 100% because they think that they can manage that way.